Okay, now that we've completed our bucketing, our pre-bucketing, and our understanding the question page on page 99, let's start looking at each of the 5 documents, starting with document A. Document A, you'll see, is a chart on the names of the people who were actually hanged in 1692 and some important information about each of them. This is taken from Salem court records, and just before you begin looking at the document, some important notes. There were 4 cycles of hangings. If you look at the chart, you've got a hanging in June, you've got a group in July, you've got another group in August, and you've got another group here in September. There were actually 4 cycles of hangings, and these were the result of the court sitting on a monthly basis. Also, before the trials were stopped, hundreds of people from several different towns were accused of witchcraft. Many were in jail up to 9 months before being freed. Some interesting details about a few of the victims. One of the men that we've talked about before was Giles Corey. He refused to plead guilty or not guilty, and the 81-year-old is believed to be the only person to be pressed to death by court order in American history. By laying a board over the accused and placing heavy stones on it one at a time, the judges hoped to force Mr. Corey to a plea. He refused and may have been killed accidentally. Before he died, he testified against his third wife, Martha, who was hanged 3 days after he died. Also, Bridget Bishop, you'll look here on June 10th, Bridget Bishop had a long-standing reputation for witchcraft in town. She was not a member of the Salem Church, and she ran a tavern on the road leading to the Salem Village. So, interesting, she was not a member of the church in the Salem community, and she ran a tavern. I want you to think about those 2 facts as you're looking at the chart and answering the questions. Also, Sarah Good, who was hanged on July 19th. She was born into a wealthy family. She had fallen on hard times, and by 1692, she was reduced to begging, literally, on the town streets in Salem. And finally, George Burroughs was a former preacher in Salem. George Burroughs here was hanged on August 19th. He was a former preacher, and before departing Massachusetts for Maine, he had several disagreements with the Thomas and Ann Putnam family. He was retrieved from Maine by the court, and he was brought to trial, and he was eventually hanged in August of 1692. So there's some information about some of the people that were killed as a result of the witch trials. The bottom portion of the chart, you've got those who were accused who died in jail. Sarah Good's child died prior to July 19th in jail, and these 4 individuals also died in jail. They were accused. One died in May, Sarah Osborne, 1692. June of 1692, Roger Toothaker died in jail. December 3rd, Ann Foster, and March 10th of 1693, Lydia Dustin. So after you've looked at the chart here on the Salem witchcraft hangings and on those accused who died in jail, let's start looking at the document analysis questions. Question 1 is going to ask you how many people were hanged or pressed to death at Salem in 1692. Again, when answering these questions, the first place you're going to look is in the document. Question 2 asks how many of the people put to death were men and how many were women. Again, look at the chart and then answer the question here underneath question 2. Question 3 says the hangings were carried out at monthly intervals. What might explain that? And if you listened in class and you listened to the notes that I've shared with you at the start of this tutorial video, you might recall what might account for the monthly intervals with people in relatively large numbers here in July, August, and September, people being hanged in monthly intervals like that. What might explain that? And question 4 asks, based only on the document, what might have caused the Salem witch trial hysteria? Again, you're answering question 4, basing your answer only on the document. A hint to one possible answer, not the only possible answer, but a hint to a possible answer. I'd like you to look at the numbers and look at the names here and try to incorporate the gender of those that were hanged into your answer. Try to incorporate the gender.